Hello and welcome to my channel. The intention of starting this channel is to assist those going through transition back to their spark by sharing the knowledge I've gained through my own transitions and the tools that have helped me through them. I am the wellness navigator that would love to assist you through your transition back to your spark. Think of me as the flashlight in a dark place guiding you back to your spark. In case you're wondering, 555 stands for significant change, transformation, personal growth, freedom, and new beginnings approaching in your life. This number is often interpreted as a message to embrace change and the new experiences with an open mind and an adventurous spirit. This is a 100% judgment-free zone, so there's no need to hold back on whatever you are experiencing or what experience has brought you here. I would love to be your biggest cheerleader. I'm an active listener, extremely intuitive, an empath, a healer, and the oldest of 3 sisters and 2 brothers. In 2022, I started dating my best friend, and so far, it's been a wonderful ride that I am beyond thankful for. I've learned through many lessons to always listen to my intuition. So a little bit about me and what I like, just in case you're curious. I love being in nature, like going for walks, hiking, heading to the beach. Who doesn't, right? On a beautiful day, it's magic. I like going to the museum and experiencing the creations people have made. I love music, meditation, and yoga, gazing at the moon and the stars, good food, photography. In fact, the pictures you will see on each episode, instead of me talking, are photos that I've taken through the years. I absolutely love photography. Time with loved ones, friends, and my cats. I enjoy learning and experiencing new things. I've learned in my transitions to always look for the lessons and the silver linings while riding the roller coaster we call life. This is what I intend to share with you. Are you close to your inner child? Have you ridden a bike with your feet in the air, down a hill, screaming and laughing, or swung on a swing in a park recently? Just try it. You would be amazed at how much you smile and how happy you feel when tuning into your inner child. The memory alone is pure gold. What do I bring to this table? Aside from my living experiences, which we will get into, I'm certified as a spiritual life coach, life and health coach, a member of the Yoga Alliance, certified 200-hour yoga teacher, somatic restorative, yin and restorative yoga, that is. I'm in the process of receiving certificates in both intuitive energy healing and hypnosis. All of the information I've learned through the years will be melded together as offerings in this episodes of this channel. I'm going to share with you a few of the life experiences or transitions that I've gone through with the intention that you see that I too have experienced a lot of transition in this life, and I've learned how to become friends with change and the unknown. I'm a member of Generation X, which hopefully conveys to you how much I've seen in the world change since I was born. I've seen television change from 3 channels to thousands, voicemail, telephones change from landlines to cell phones, computers be used everywhere, the invention of the internet and globalization, to name a few. My parents were high school sweethearts that divorced when my sister and I were very young. My dad was in the army, so I moved around a lot, which was in a sense great because I got to see a lot of places, cultures, and I met a lot of new people. In fact, the amount of schools I attended between elementary to high school was 10. It sounds like a lot, right? But I feel fortunate to have had all of those experiences. Any of you out there follow in your parents' steps and marry young while swearing you weren't ever going to get a divorce? I certainly did. I married at 23 and divorced within 3 years. I married in the Catholic Church, which has a process of getting married. You take personality tests, you meet with a priest, and you can either go to a retreat for a weekend or meet with married couple for help in navigating through the process of marriage. The priest that married us knew that we were completely different. In fact, at the altar, he asked if we were ready. I was fantasizing about what marriage was in my mind's eye and didn't realize how different we were until we were married. I swear, as soon as we said I do, everything changed. But not like a lifetime drama, thankfully, but we were from different backgrounds. His parents were the age of my grandparents. He came from a small family. My family is big. He lived in a small town in the same house his entire life while I was all over the place. He would later tell me after our divorce that he had felt an immense sense of pressure to provide for me, even though we were both working. You definitely grieve when you divorce or end any relationship for that matter. So after the divorce, I'm wondering if anyone has also fallen into this category of saying they will never marry again. I thought it might be easier. Shortly after separating, I met someone, and though it wasn't my intention to get into another relationship so quickly, it happened. And we lasted for about 9 years. We bought everything in both of our names, to include a house, cars, and joint bank accounts. Everything that is except the marriage license. At 30, my partner realized he had not reached goals he had set and was surprised or maybe disappointed that my goal was simply to live with stability. This led to my partner becoming focused on home repairs and renovations and me hanging out with my friends to curb my loneliness. We had become toxic roommates that never talked. I chose to leave after a few years for my mental health. The years following that, I was living my best single life with friends, traveling, seeing different things and new experiences. I hadn't processed the grief of my past relationships. I just kept moving. And it sound familiar to anyone? But 2010 was a pivotal year for me. I lost my grandmother, who was literally my rock. We were close, and to be honest, anyone who knew her loved her. She knew no strangers. She was young at heart and knew how to live life to the fullest. Her death happened quickly, and the grief I experienced opened Pandora's box to every experience that I wished away and replaced with a big smile. This moment began my journey towards healing. I spent months deep in the dark hole that I would come to know as grief. Have you ever felt like you couldn't see the light at the end of the tunnel? That you were completely covered in darkness and felt raw? I tried unhealthy self-medicating tactics that I thought worked before to help numb the pain until I felt I had let it go. I was trying to function in a world that doesn't allow time for grief. This time, however, there was no escaping it. It all came down. Every time I would wake up, I was right back there in hell. There came a time when the realization hit that this way of living wasn't working for me. So I began looking for healthier ways to work through my grief. Through Groupon, and Groupon, for those of you who don't know, was a place you could buy experiences without being fully committed. So I tried a few different things. Zumba, which is fun music and lively dancing, following a leader that's at the front of the class. And I love free-form dancing. However, I was not coordinated to follow all the energetic movements. I found my laughter, though, as I awkwardly tried to learn the movements, which was a huge positive. I hung in the back and tried to do what I could while giggling. Was finding my laughter was huge for me, and it told me that I was on the right track. I also tried hardcore Pilates with the reformer machines. I made a huge mistake of having a smoothie an hour or so before I went to class, and I ended up on the machine in the sun. A little over halfway through the class, I was running to the restroom. I had made myself sick. And when I returned to the class, The instructor asked, "Are you okay?" I told him, "Yes, I am now, but I was ill and I'm going to leave." And his response was, "Yeah, that's why it's called hardcore Pilates." I did also try boot camps at the crack of dawn, and I will tell you what I learned from that was the word commitment. Commitment to get up that early and do the things they wanted me to do. I had a hard time sitting down after doing boot camp. And I remember being at work and falling into my chair because my muscles were so sore. I give kudos to whoever enjoys doing that, but it was not for me. I then tried yoga, and as luck would have it, I found an amazing teacher, Rhea Robinson. She introduced me to other great teachers as well. And if you're ever interested in trying yoga and you're in Houston, Texas, she still teaches, and I would definitely recommend her. She teaches both the spiritual and physical side of yoga, bringing your mind, body, and soul together. This yoga experience with both aspects got me hooked. I know a lot of people have those same type of experiences going to church. I'm a more spiritual person rather than religious. I believe God is unconditional love and that we are all one. So slowly I began connecting my body, mind, and soul while processing and healing from the loss of my grandmother and from the many experiences I had thought I had let go, which turns out I had not. They all had come back up. And isn't it funny how that happens? I lost my mother in 2016. It happened very quickly. My little brother took her to the emergency room and she was admitted. She asked to be released, and I will say that within 3 weeks to a month, she was gone. We lost her to stage 4 lung cancer. Thankfully, she died the way she wanted to, in her sleep and next to my stepfather. Her death was not easier, but I did have the tools this time to help me work through the grief. Losing loved ones quickly is good for the ones that we lose, but it can feel unbearable for the ones they leave behind. In 1999, my grandfather, who I was also close to, and he had amazing stories and we shared a love of debate. He lost his battle to cancer, which had returned, and thankfully before the Alzheimer's took full control, or the difference here was we had a few years to prepare for his passing. And when he left this earth, I was thankful that he was no longer suffering. I will say that I see transition as an opportunity for us to grow. Let me just say that again. Let it sink in. Transition is an opportunity to grow. I found myself in and out of toxic relationships, whether they were in the shape of romance or friendship. I attracted a few, for lack of better word, narcissists, which, if any of you have been in those type of relationships, know qualities like being kind, compassionate, empathetic without boundaries make you an easy target to be manipulated and drained of all of your energy. I will be honest, I knew they were not healthy relationships, but for whatever reason, I felt obligated to stay. Looking closer at these relationships after healing from them, I've learned the appropriate word to describe myself at that time was people pleasing and being worried how it would look if I left because of the hard time they were going through, which was never ending. I can also admit at times I was the toxic one. I learned the most valuable lessons through these relationships. In the end, I can appreciate those relationships because I found myself through them. Now that I know how to process my feelings and let go of the past, I refuse to revisit the negative aspects as I don't want to live in the past. I take the lesson and release the emotions that were associated with it. I'd like to show you how to do that. I am no victim. Learning the importance of boundaries, listening to my gut and my intuition brought me inner peace, and that is something you can't buy. I have no intention on ever sacrificing my inner peace. The more transition I've experienced, the more in love I become with the ebb and flow of this life. That doesn't mean that I'm happy all the time or that I'm never angry, scared, or that I don't cry. It simply means I have come to a place where I allow myself to feel the feelings that I feel as I experience them. I watch the wave of emotions. I give myself space and compassion to feel these things because that is self love. I'm living this human experience and I want to live it. Can anyone relate to that? So, in 2012, a friend I've known since middle school planted the seed by mentioning after a yoga class, "You'd be a really great life coach." And at that time, I was working a job that I was comfortable with and clinging to stability. Remember, that was my key thing. It was my goal was stability. Do you do that? Do you cling to stability? I feel like I had so much change growing up, which is not a negative reflection on my family. It is just the truth. I'd had so much change growing up that in my adult years, I didn't want any change at all. I just wanted stability. Stability can become stagnant, which meant for me living like the movie Groundhog's Day, where, you live it over and over and over again. You go to work, eat, watch TV, go to sleep, rinse and repeat. Maybe go on a vacation or visit someone, do something on the weekend. But I really was not experiencing anything new, and I certainly wasn't growing. In December, right before the pandemic, my colleague who was the supervisor over the mailroom and she maintained the building that we worked in, had an infection in her back. And unfortunately, that led to an emergency surgery, after which she had a lot of rehab to do. While in rehab, she realized, or the doctors realized, that she still had some infection in her back, so she had another surgery. Unfortunately, after that surgery, she became paralyzed from the neck down, and that was in March of 2020. I can happily say or report that since I've spoken to her since, and she is able to feed herself, but she was no longer able to work, so she left the company, and I inherited all of her duties along with the things I already did. That was right before the pandemic started. During the pandemic, a lot of the employees in the company that I worked for were furloughed, which I believe happened to a lot of companies, and I was not one of those employees. I was burnt out by the time it ended, and I will tell you that I felt that way before it even began. I had colleagues plant more seeds during this time, letting me know that I would be a wonderful life coach. A lot of things were changing in the company had worked in. I had worked there for 31 years. I had the same boss for 28 of those years, and I decided to go for it. Let's get in it, and I dove into life and health coaching certificates and her certifications, and I was thankful that my partner was on board and happy to support me in my quest for a new career. September of 2023 was when the certification started. However, my company had a cyber attack which took us back to the dark ages. I was doing purchase orders over the phone and through email at home. A month later, we were still getting everything back together, and I got rear-ended and my car was totaled. My social media got hacked in December of 2023. At that point, I just kind of went with the flow and decided to make sure that I took care of my health and my sanity, which I did. And in 2024, things really started to feel like they were changing at the office. We were closing offices down. There was new executive management. I saw a lot of friends that I had worked with for many, many years being let go. So I was thankful for getting my certification, for going after it, for deciding on a new path. I learned I was going to be let go after I closed the building that I'd worked for 31 years and flew overseas to the Philippines, where I trained my replacement, who is extremely nice. And since they work US hours, that was a wild and crazy experience, let me tell you. I learned not to ever complain about traffic, and I do live in a very busy city. I also learned how it feels to work US hours when you're 12 hours ahead. It's rough, but they do it and they do it with a smile and they figure it out. I guess we all would, right? In 2025, I created my own business and I thought, how can I add to what I have learned? I started looking into spiritual life coaching, intuitive energy healing, and hypnosis, which I believe are amazing tools to help guide you through transition back to your spark. I'm excited to get to work, so I hope you feel like you know me and see that I too have been through a lot of transformation. I want you to know it would be my absolute pleasure assisting you in finding your way through transition and back to your spark while navigating this crazy, wonderful wave that we call life. If any of this resonated with you, please like, comment, and subscribe to this channel. And if by chance you are curious of my offerings, please check out my website. The link is in my bio. Thank you, take care, and I hope you have a great day.